You got it. Oh, what's up, buddy? You were just talking about it. Yours ringing? Just a little bit. Anything good or? Just a concern. We're coming to work with that. On the 12th.
Pledge allegiance.
Present. Dr. Cooper? Here. Mr. Crawford? Mr. Knick?
Here.
Mr. Lawler?
Here.
Mr. Quinn?
Here.
Mr. Soto? Here. Mr. Salvo?
Here.
Dr. Serena?
Thank you, Dr. Sereno. I would first like to talk a little bit about our K-4. We have gone back yesterday. It was fantastic to see all the young faces that we know were smiling behind those masks. Our teachers were definitely smiling behind the masks. And I just want to credit Mr. Zangardi and Mr. Savakinis for the job that they did, and the faculty. Everything ran as smoothly as it can on the first day, and as today on the second day. I know things will get better and better and better, but it was just so encouraging and exciting to see our students back in our hallways. That leads me to our next topic of we've heard from many parents about when are we going to be bringing back our next group of students. As of right now, our plan is to bring back grades 5 through 12 on April 12th. April 12th will be a Monday. It will be the second day of the fourth quarter. Reason being, we did not want to start on a Friday. It will also give our administrators in the middle school and the high school ample opportunity to get a handle on how many students will be returning. As with our elementary bring back, the amount of students that we have coming back will dictate the amount of days that we will have live in-person instruction. It will be a minimum of 2, but our hope and our plan is to be 5 days a week. Right now, we're following the guidance of 6 feet between students. We're being told that guidance is probably going to change to a 3 feet between students. But students will need to wear masks at all times throughout the building. As of now, our plan is to have our high school students attending from 7:35 to 12:55 approximately. And our middle school will be attending from 8:05 to approximately 1:25. In this plan, we will not be utilizing the cafeteria. Students will not be going to the cafeteria. That is a big portion of why the dismissal will be the time that it is. We're also dismissing early to give our teaching staff ample opportunity to plan. And our students will be given a snack period during the day, approximately 15 minutes. Every student will be allowed a snack and a water of their choice, what they're going to bring in. And we will be providing a lunch and a snack and a breakfast to every single student in the middle school and the high school. Mr. Lazevnik and Mr. Bilbo will be reaching out to families over the next few days. They will also be holding town hall meetings where they will discuss the specifics of the plan as well as answer any questions that parents may have or concerns that parents may have. They will be addressed in the next few days. But as we sit here today, our plan is to return all students K-12 on April the 12th. With that, I will going to my superintendent's agenda. Under communications, that the communication received from the LIU Unit 18 enclosing copies of its meeting held on January 27 be acknowledged as received and placed on file. C2, the communication received from the Wilkes-Barre Area Career and Technical Center enclosing copies of its meeting that was held on January 25th, 2021 be acknowledged as received and placed on file. C3 are applications for permit to use school facilities. C4 is the assessment notices, abatements, and additionals received from the Luzerne County Board of Assessment Appeals. Under finance, F1, the communication from Anthony Alu, Director of Assessments for Luzerne County Board of Assessment Appeals, Assessor's Office, Wilkes-Barre, PA, requesting a refund of paid taxes be made to the following. We had 0 this month. F2, that the proper officers of the district be authorized to sign a letter of agency for the renewal of the Pennsylvania RWAN rate consortium and intermediate unit number 18 for E-rate submission be approved. F3, that the proper officers of the district be authorized to sign the purchase agreement for the building-to-building fiber connection with First Light Fiber be approved. This is also using our E-rate program funding. F4, that the proper officers of the district be authorized to accept the PEPPM mini bid proposal from InNet Services for network infrastructure as part of our federal E-rate funding be approved. Under bids, that the bid for stadium lighting be awarded this evening. Under general, G1, that the proper officers of the district be empowered to execute the agreement with student number 270395 and carry out its terms. G2, that the proper officers of the district be empowered to execute the agreement with student number 270396 and carry out its terms. G3, that the proper officers of the district be empowered to execute the agreement with student number 307065 and carry out its terms. G4, a motion to approve a limited and temporary paid COVID-19 leave policy, effectively providing up to 10 days of paid leave to eligible employees through June 30th, 2021. That concludes my report.
Thanks. Any new business Deb, that we have?
I have some new business. I have a proclamation for the Social Emotional Learning Day on the last Friday in March. The proclamation states that whereas social emotional learning, or SEL, is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals through self-control, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. And whereas SEL competencies develop throughout their lives and are essential to success in our schools, workplaces, homes, and communities, and allow individuals to contribute meaningfully to society. And whereas SEL can be taught and developed throughout childhood, adolescence, and beyond, and whereas schools, families, and the wider community must engage to enhance the strength, depth, and pace of acquisition of SEL competencies. And whereas supporting SEL is a wise use of public resources because there can be long-term social and economic benefits to society from the implementation of evidence-based SEL. Therefore, we, the Pittston Area School District, proclaim the last Friday in March as Social Emotional Learning Day in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, and encourage all community members to learn about and share their knowledge of the importance and impact of integrating evidence-based SEL into our schools, organizations, and community. Thank you.
I think we can add that as G5. we can add that as G5 under general and just approve the proclamation.
Any other new business? If not, we have an update from IU 18, John?
Yes, Dr. Serino. As we all know, the LIU consists of 12 member school districts throughout Luzerne and Wyoming counties. And we received 2,500 vaccines earlier this week. We started inoculating people on Thursday, and our staff worked Thursday, Friday, 12 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday. They worked Monday, and they also worked today. I want to thank them for their diligent work. Of the 2,500 vaccines, we inoculated 2,400 people. So once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Greco, staff, FEMA, the National Guard. Thank you. That's all.
On that point, Kevin, is all our personnel involved who had the opportunity to be vaccinated?
All individuals have had the opportunity to. Not everyone has taken advantage of the opportunity, but every employee had the opportunity to. And I can say that it was a very high percentage. And I'd just like to echo what Mr. Adizio said about the work that Dr. Greco and his staff did down there. I received my shot the other day, and it was one of the most efficient operations that I've ever taken part in. They had everything set up perfectly, got people in and out, and it was something to see.
Maybe the board secretary sent a letter of thanks on part of the Board of Education for their help at this time. Mr. Knick, any report from Volta?
Basically, it's just like every school district, we have a small percentage of our students back in in-person learning. We have 5 sending districts, and more sending districts start opening up and bringing the students back. Hopefully, we'll start seeing a higher percentage of our students in person.
Thank you. Any public input? Do we have anything, the Central School or anything? Okay, thank you. With that, I'd now like to call a regular scheduled board meeting to order. Roll call.
Present.
Dr. Cooper? Here. Mr. Crawford? Mr. Knick?
Here.
Mr. Lawler?
Here.
Mr. Quinn?
Here.
Ms. Rapoda? Here. Mr. Salvo?
Here.
And Dr. Serena?
Here. Board met in exec session virtually Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021 at 6, and Monday, March 15th, 2021 at 7. And this evening, March 6th, 2021 at 5 p.m. in the library of the Pittston High School for the purpose of discussing personnel. And with that, I'd like to get a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Rapoda? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Serena?
Yes. I'd now like to entertain a motion for the communication C1 through C4 as presented by the superintendent, be acknowledged as received, accepted, and placed on file and approved by holding. Roll call. A motion?
Second.
Roll call. Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Rapoda? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Serena?
Yes. Now accept a motion that F1 to F4 be accepted as so presented. Motion?
Second.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Dakota? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sri.
Yes. Bids, entertain a motion that, well, the bid for the stadium lighting be awarded to upon administrative recommendation and the architectural report be granted to Richard Bell Corporation that includes base bid and all included components. The total price, $435,000.
Motion, Mr. Anizio.
Second.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Dakota? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sri.
Yes. That G1 through and including G5, which is the proclamation presented by Dr. Cooper, be accepted and approved. Motion? Second. Roll call?
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Dakota? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sri.
Yes. Going into P1 to P7, I'd like to accept a motion that they be accepted and approved.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Dakota? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sri.
Yes. P8, that upon administrative recommendation, John Rick be appointed to the position of high school night shift team leader, maintenance custodian, salary and benefits as per contractual agreement. Motion?
Motion, Mr. Anizio.
Second.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Dakota? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sri.
Yes. P9, motion that based upon administrative recommendation, that Joe Fahey be appointed to the position of the K Complex night shift team leader, maintenance custodial, salary and benefits as per contractual agreement. Motion?
Second.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Dakota? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sri.
Yes. P10, upon administrative recommendation, Renee Jones be appointed to the position of LEA educational assistant, salary and benefits as per contractual agreement.
Motion.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Dakota? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sri.
Yes. P11, on administrative recommendation, Laura Lee Holokowski be appointed to the position of LEA educational assistant, salary and benefits as per contractual agreement. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Dakota? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sri.
Yes. P12, on administrative recommendation that Janice Martin be appointed to the position of part-time cafeteria monitor, primary center, salary and benefits as per contractual agreement. Motion?
Motion, Mr. Anizio.
Roll call?
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Dakota? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sri.
Yes. P13, that Laura Wagner be appointed to the position of part-time school visitor monitor, salary and benefits as per contractual agreement. Motion.
Second. Mr. Alethea?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Proto? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
Now I'd like to accept a motion that finance and business reports FD1, FD6 for the month of February 2021 be accepted as presented and filed.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Alethea?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Connect?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Porter? Yes. Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
Any new business from the board?
Yes, Dr. Serino, I have two presentations to make, both from the class of 1968. A book written by Sam Shirley. It's being presented by his dad. It's called The Dig, A Personal Prehistoric Journey. And it's about Sam's, how he felt about dinosaurs and how they influenced his life. So he wanted to have his father present this, and it's being presented to whatever library that Mr. Ruth feels it belongs in. In addition to that, there is another book from the class of 68 written by Dr. Susan Kaporch Rosina. Dr. Brazina is a cardiologist who enjoys fly fishing in her free time. And one afternoon, she decided to take a walk through a cemetery in the Poconos, and she came upon the Broadhead family, and decided to do research on the Broadhead family. She was so enthralled with it all that she also decided to write a book, which she then had published personally. Again, this is to be placed in one of our libraries wherever Mr. Booth feels is best. Or whoever is interested in it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we can do everything with a letter of thanks also. Thank you. That will take us to public input. And do we have any public input? At this point, I'd like to make personal comments that I'd like to put into the record. We've also, all of us have faced a lot of questions back and forth as we're going along here as to when are our kids going back to school? What's going on? And I've had a number of conversations with people that were thinking that the decision was being made by teachers. I can tell you that this board and administration spent a lot of time and a lot of hours weighing the right decision to make when that should be. My sense, and anyone going to comment on this, is that through all of that, the most important part of making our decision was the welfare, safety, and health of our students coming back. I believe we used all the scientific information that was available to make the appropriate decision. Therefore, you've seen what has happened in the last couple of weeks as the science moved in the direction of saying safer to bring our kids back. We didn't open up the door altogether because at this point, the science still says we need to be careful, we need to implement a number of rules and regulations for these kids and be prepared to implement those rules and regulations. I believe our administration are taking the steps and have been taking the steps to do that. And I'd like to thank our entire staff. And before thanking the staff, I'd like to thank the Board of Education for taking the time and due diligence in having long, deep discussions regarding making the decision. I personally feel very comfortable that we made a very solid decision. And on top of that decision, I've had people say, well, what about the education of the kids? I have a feeling about that too. I have grandchildren in this school. And I believe the education was presented very thoroughly by what I saw of the staff of the Pittston area school district. Obviously, it's not a substitute, okay, for in-person learning, and we knew that. But every effort is made by this administration to work with teachers and to come up with a plan that will provide the most time, or the best amount of time that we could have teachers interacting with kids. And I personally believe our district has probably accomplished the most amount of time where kids will interact with teachers, not in person, okay? But, in fact, the presentation, as I watched it a number of times with it, the way I saw the teachers handle it, it wasn't like being in person. But I get the fact that kids react differently and having their face in front of the computer so long, and they lose their attention span. Get all that. But I think that the effort made by the administration, the curriculum people, and the staff in implementing it, I believe was exemplary. And to that, we have not finished our work. Kevin, at this point, is finishing the last few steps we need to address as far as making the move to middle school and high school. And every building is different. So it isn't one plan fits all. And it's a lot of work based on input that they have and their basic knowledge of education and our experience at our administrative level is very high. So to that, I say, it's been an unfortunate year for us. But we will, I believe, the Pittston area school district will do everything in its power to make up and to gain any lost time in education. And I think we'll be hearing from our superintendent in the near future about plans for summer school and about plans for supplementing education next year and the year after, if necessary, to bring those kids back to the level where they should have been succeeding at an in-person learning. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody in their entirety, and we'll just keep trucking on until we get to the end. Thank you. With that, we accept the motion to adjourn. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Ruth. I live in Houston, PA. The main concern I was wondering, did you guys do anything with the air conditioning, with the ducts, with the filters?
I can partially answer that. Yes, we were meeting with an architect tonight. In regards to the air quality and the type of things that we have planned and are going out to bid next week, as far as the filtration system, not a HEPA filter, but a system. Joe, maybe you could explain it better.
Yeah, we've been looking into, and we're putting it off for bid. There's units out there on the market, they are proven units that you can put in your ventilation system. They're UV, most of them are, and you put them into your air handlers. And what that does is any makeup air and any air coming out of the room, okay, is filtered by this ultraviolet box.
It's exempt.
What's that, Steve?
It's exempt.
I can't hear you.
It burns the germs.
I still can't.
I said it burns the germs.
Yes, sir, it does. Okay, and then before the air is discharged back into the rooms, okay, this box is supposedly proven, according to the literature and the statistics, to kill MRSA, COVID virus, and there's one or two other viruses that it's proven to kill. So we've been working on this for a month or so, and we're trying to purchase units for every heating and ventilation unit in the district for every school. And we're this close to getting it done, purchasing the units and having them installed, whether we install them ourselves or There's an addendum on the bid that if a company wants to give us a price on putting them in, or are we gonna do it? But we've already researched this. We've researched all the facts on how these units work. Some of the units, I've installed some up at the Votech where I work, and they're very simple install, and some of them even have self-cleaners on them. As the unit's working, there's brushes in there to clean all the plates, so they're pretty efficient. And that's what we're looking at. We're just looking right now to get some competitive bids, as long as everything meets the spec, okay, to supply everybody in this school district with the best quality air that we can. Okay, so we've already addressed that, and we should have some answers by next week as far as the bid process, and then we can purchase the units and move forward with it. So we've addressed that, Steve.
Okay, but that's only for the central air conditioning.
No, it's not.
How about the separate?
It's for all the unit vents, okay? It's for the heating, because a lot of our units, you know yourself, a lot of them are rooftops.
Yeah,
Okay, what's in the rooftops? You got air conditioning, you got heat pumps.
yeah,
Okay, so your heat and your air conditioning
yeah.
is supplied by the unit. So once you install this box, you're gonna be taking care of the air conditioning in the summer and the heating in the winter.
About the Monday complex, okay? They have the units that are like the hotels, separate units. How are you gonna fix that?
They're unit vents.
They're gonna put in there?
You install them right in the unit vents. I've done them already up at the art high school.
Okay, once you install that?
What's that?
Once you install those units, how many days you gonna keep the filters in there also?
We change them up at the Votech twice a year.
Yeah,
Pittston area changes them 3 times a year. Okay, so the units in this district, our filters are changed 3 times a year.
that's too long, I believe.
That's what?
That's too long. I believe it should be, the filter should be changed every month, at least.
At least when? How long?
Once a month.
Well, I disagree.
You can get us research that shows that.
I mean, you got to,
I'm pretty sure that's okay. We have research. We're doing above with research. They tell us twice a year. You got research that shows us that more than that would be helpful. Please send it.
that's right. The main concern I worry about, you say you have grandchildren, I have grandchildren, and I believe everybody up here has kids.
I appreciate your question. I'm saying to you very sincerely, you've got some kind of research or something that says that, see?
Okay.
With an opinion, we need something that would tell us that would improve the quality by doing that.
Okay, and before you install those, equipment, are you gonna scrub the units out?
Yes.
Very simple.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's all I wanna know. Then,
I appreciate it.
what's the sense in installing something without cleaning them?
You're absolutely right. That's why the architectural is doing the plans as far as getting the bids, which should be the end of next week. And there is a plan for the process of implementing, cleaning, and getting them.
Is that gonna be specified, they're gonna be, the coil's gonna be cleaned, everything?
Well, let me say this, we may install ourselves, that's an option you're trying to use to save money. So if that is the case, we control that, because it's our personnel that will be cleaning and doing what they have, and at the same time, the coils will be cleaned.
They're gonna be cleaned with chemicals?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I wanna know.
And just to add to that, Joe, you wanna talk to them about the bathrooms, what we got on?
Well, what, Mr. Sawyer?
The bathroom, the faucets and stuff, touches?
Yeah, we've also purchased a bunch of flush valves, touchless flush valves for all the bathrooms in the school. That you go in, you've been in hotels and stuff where when you go to the bathroom, you don't have to touch nothing, all you do is walk away, okay, and it flushes on its own. We've already purchased them. We spent money on them. We've been looking into some touchless faucets also. We have some. We're looking into more. We're doing everything possible to make this district as safe as possible for the students and the employees of this school. Getting back to what you were talking about filters. okay? They recommend, depending on the size of the school, okay, and the square footage, if you change the filters twice a year, okay? So, we've been changing the filters twice a year. Pittston's been changing them 3 times a year because of the type of filter they use, which is a good filter, but they do 1 extra change during the year. If it wasn't for this COVID virus that we're dealing with, okay, changing them twice and 3 times a year was adequate, okay? Now that we're dealing with the COVID, what we have done is we additionally are going to add these boxes, okay, to do the best we can to kill this virus in our quality of air in this district, okay? So what we've done different is we're going to add these boxes to make it safer for everybody. Over the years, changing out the filters, like I said, twice a year, 3 times a year, is more than adequate. I don't think changing them every month is a necessity. I don't think we need to do that.
Well, just in case, check them out.
What's that, Steve?
Check them. Check the filters, Joe.
Well, I gotta go one step further. I'm not gonna split hairs with you all night, but
No, I'm just saying.
let me just say something. Now, when you have these units that are controlled by a system, okay? Now, the system we use is called NRG, okay? And on my desk, and so does it, Jimmy Serino, we have on our computers these units. We can control these units from our desktop computer. We can change the parameters. We can add more outside air, drop back on the outside air. And the other thing that we have is, every one of these units that show up, as we bring up a unit, it has air filter, and it'll tell you whether it's clean or dirty. So if you have a dirty filter, it's going to pop up on your computer in red, and it's going to tell you what unit has a dirty filter. So we can address them as we go. Did that answer your question a little more?
Yeah, no problem, because one time Pittston area had the heating and air conditioning was controlled down south when Frankie was on board. That's many years ago. I said when you were superintendent, the units were controlled from south, remember? Don't worry about it, you forgot.
Yeah, I'm getting old.
No, you're getting young, kids getting young. Okay, thank you very much.
I hope that answered your question, Steve.
Yeah, I did, Joe.
Okay.
Any other input? Not meeting adjourned. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Being a thick